Chapter 8 of Pollyanna Grows Up. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mary Anderson. Pollyanna Grows Up by Eleanor H. Porter. Chapter 8. Jamie. Pollyanna did not see the boy tomorrow. It rained, and she could not go to the garden at all. It rained the next day, too. Even on the third day she did not see him, for though the sun came out bright and warm, and though she went very early in the afternoon to the garden and waited long, he did not come at all. But on the fourth day he was there in his old place, and Pollyanna hastened forward with a joyous greeting. "Oh, I'm so glad, glad to see you! But where have you been? You weren't here yesterday at all." "I couldn't. The pain wouldn't let me come yesterday," explained the lad, who was looking very white. "The pain? Oh, does it ache?" stammered Pollyanna, all sympathy at once. "Oh, yes, always," nodded the boy, with a cheerfully matter-of-fact air. "Most generally I can stand it and come here just the same, except when it gets too bad, same as 'twas yesterday. Then I can't." "But how can you stand it, to have it ache always?" gasped Pollyanna. "Why, I have to," answered the boy, opening his eyes a little wider. "Things that are so, and they can't be any other way. So what's the use thinking how they might be? Besides, the harder it aches one day, the nicer 'tis to have it let up the next." "I know. That's like the began Pollyanna, but the boy interrupted her. "Did you bring a lot this time?" he asked anxiously. "Oh, I hope you did. You see, I couldn't bring them any to day. Jerry couldn't spare even a penny for peanuts this morning, and there wasn't really enough stuff in the box for me this noon." Pollyanna looked shocked. "You mean that you didn't have enough to eat yourself for your luncheon?" "Sure," smiled the boy. "But don't worry. 'Tisn't the first time, and 'twon't be the last. I'm used to it. Hi there! Here comes Sir Lancelot." Pollyanna, however, was not thinking of squirrels. "And wasn't there any more at home?" "Oh, no, there's never any left at home," laughed the boy. "You see, Mumsey works out stairs and washings, so she gets some of her feed in them places, and Jerry picks his up where he can, except nights and mornings. He gets it with us then, if we've got any." Pollyanna looked still more shocked. "But what do you do when you don't have anything to eat?" "Go hungry, of course." "But I never heard of anybody who didn't have anything to eat," gasped Pollyanna. "Of course father and I were poor, and we had to eat beans and fish balls when we wanted turkey. But we had something. Why don't you tell folks all these folks everywhere that live in these houses?" "What's the use?" "Why, they'd give you something, of course." The boy laughed once more, this time a little queerly. "Guess again, kid. You've got another one comin'. Nobody I know is dishin' out roast beef and frosted cake for the askin'. Besides, if you didn't go hungry once in a while, you wouldn't know how good 'taters and milk can taste, and you wouldn't have so much to put in your jolly book." "Your what?" The boy gave an embarrassed laugh and grew suddenly red. "Forget it. I didn't think, for a minute, but you was Mumsey or Jerry." "But what is your jolly book?" pleaded Pollyanna. "Please tell me. Are there knights and lords and ladies in that?" The boy shook his head. His eyes lost their laughter and grew dark and fathomless. "No, I wisht there was," he sighed wistfully. "But when you can't even walk, you can't fight battles and win trophies, and have fair ladies hand you your sword, and bestow upon you the golden guerdon." A sudden fire came to the boy's eyes. His chin lifted itself as if in response to a bugle call. Then as suddenly the fire died, and the boy fell back into his old listlessness. "You just can't do nothin'," he resumed wearily, after a moment's silence. "You just have to sit and think. And times like that your 'think' gets to be somethin' awful. Mine did, anyhow. I wanted to go to school and learn things, more things than just mumsey can teach me. And I thought of that. I wanted to run and play ball with the other boys, and I thought of that. I wanted to go out and sell papers with Jerry, and I thought of that. I didn't want to be taken care of all my life, and I thought of that." "I know, oh, I know," breathed Pollyanna, with shining eyes. "Didn't I lose my legs for a while?" "Did you? Then you do know some. But you've got yours again. I hain't, you know," sighed the boy, the shadow in his eyes deepening. "But you haven't told me yet about the Jolly Book," prompted Pollyanna, after a minute. The boy stirred and laughed shamefacedly. "Well, you see, it ain't much, after all, except to me. You wouldn't see much in it. I started it a year ago. I was feelin' 'specially bad that day. Nothin' was right. For a while I grumped it out, just thinkin', and then I picked up one of father's books and tried to read, and the first thing I see was this. I learned it afterward, so I can say it now. 'Pleasures lie thickest where no pleasures seem. There's not a leaf that falls upon the ground but holds some joy of silence or of sound.'" Footnote: Blanchard, Lyric Offerings, Hidden Joys. Back to reading. "Well, I was mad. I wished I could put the guy that wrote that in my place, and see what kind of joy he'd find in my leaves. I was so mad I made up my mind I'd prove he didn't know what he was talkin' about. So I begun to hunt for 'em the joys in my leaves, you know. I took a little old empty notebook that Jerry had given me, and I said to myself that I'd write 'em down. Everything that had anything about it that I liked I'd put down in the book. Then I'd just show how many joys I had." "Yes, yes," cried Pollyanna, absorbedly, as the boy paused for breath. "Well, I didn't expect to get many, but do you know, I got a lot. There was somethin' about 'most everything that I liked a little, so in it had to go. The very first one was the book itself, that I'd got it, you know, to write in. Then somebody give me a flower in a pot, and Jerry found a dandy book in the subway. After that it was really fun to hunt 'em out. I'd find 'em in such queer places sometimes. Then one day Jerry got hold of the little notebook and found out what 'twas. Then he give it its name, the Jolly Book, and that's all." "All? All?" cried Pollyanna, delight and amazement struggling for the mastery on her glowing little face. "Why, that's the game! You're playin' the glad game, and don't know it. Only you're playin' it ever and ever so much better than I ever could. Why, I couldn't play it at all, I'm afraid, if I didn't have enough to eat, and couldn't ever walk or anything," she choked. "The game? What game? I don't know anything about any game," frowned the boy. Pollyanna clapped her hands. "I know you don't. I know you don't, and that's why it's so perfectly lovely, and so wonderful. But listen, I'll tell you what the game is." And she told him. "Gee!" breathed the boy appreciatively, when she had finished. "Now what do you think of that? And here you are playing my game better than anybody I ever saw, and I don't even know your name yet, nor anything," exclaimed Pollyanna, in almost awestruck tones. "But I want to. I want to know everything." "Pooh! There's nothing to know," rejoined the boy, with a shrug. "Besides, see, here's poor Sir Lancelot and all the rest waiting for their dinner," he finished. "Dear me, so they are!" sighed Pollyanna, glancing impatiently at the fluttering and chattering creatures all about them. Recklessly she